Hello, my name is Julianna, and today I'm going to be discussing discrimination in the United States military. The United States military has been put into place to serve and protect our great country and the citizens within it. Members of the military sacrifice their lives in order for the United States citizens to keep their freedom and rights. The military does, however, have a history of discriminating against women and members of the LGBT community. The challenges military members face often carry on with them as they become veterans. While women have been accepted into the military since 1948, sexual minorities have been struggling to gain acceptance for many years, and it's still being discussed today. Men and women are taught by society what characteristics and behaviors are considered appropriate for their sex. Masculinity and femininity lie on two separate continua, and an individual may lie anywhere upon this continua. Although there has been changes in the expectations of gender roles in the past few years, traditional roles of masculinity and femininity still shape people's behaviors today. This is evident in the United States military. People still feel societal pressure today to be considered man enough or woman enough. According to the Department of Defense in 2012, 85.5% of active duty military was made up by men, making it a dominantly male field. Many masculine traits are necessary to have in the military, such as physical strength to overcome obstacles. Historically, the military can also remove stereotypically feminine traits from a person, like empathy and emotional responses, in order for that individual to kill in combat. Women in the military could be facing inner struggles to be feminine, so they are, quote, real women, but also needing to be masculine to be, quote, real soldier, marine, airman, sailor, or member of the Coast Guard. Women in the military face issues like discrimination based on their gender, as well as experiencing sexual harassment and/or sexual assault. Sexual harassment and sexual assault are going to be two large topics that I speak about today because they are not only a large problem in civilian life, but it has also become such a large problem in our military. It was estimated that 5% of servicewomen have acknowledged that they have been sexually assaulted in the year 2017. This is 5 times more than servicemen. It was also found that between 10% and 33% of servicewomen will experience attempted or completed sexual assault during their time serving in the military. Women are less likely to report their sexual assault due to being worried about military leaders treating them differently, whether it's being mocked or being singled out, or having the leader downsizing the sexual assault, making the assault seem like it wasn't that big of a deal and the woman was being dramatic. Through research, it has been confirmed that their worries are valid. There was a survey conducted of active military servicewomen and their experiences with sexual assault. Of the women who took the survey, the median age was 35, and more than half had college degrees. Sexual assault was experienced by 16% of participants in total. Of the percent that did experience sexual assault, 72% were in non-deployed locations at the time of the assault. 20% in deployed locations and 18% were Reserve National Guard who experienced the assault in the past when they were active duty. Of the entire survey, 29% of women had experienced sexual assault prior to being in the military. Through the survey, the researchers were able to find a connection between sexual assault of women in the military and the behaviors of their military leaders. The women taking the survey spoke up about how the very inappropriate behaviors the military leaders conveyed. The leaders were not taking reports of sexual assault seriously, not demonstrating zero tolerance for sexual harassment within the unit, and not exhibiting support for service members seeking mental health care. All 3 of these behaviors are associated with higher risk of sexual assault occurring, putting servicewomen and servicemen at risk. This shows that the behaviors of the military leaders can cause the military members under them to think sexual assault is not a big deal, and it can increase likelihood of sexual assault occurring. This is obviously extremely inappropriate and unsettling, and it goes to show that military leaders have a very large impact on those under them. In 2014, out of the women who reported their sexual assault, 53% experienced sexual touching, 4% experienced attempted rape, and 43% 43% experienced completed rape. Researchers were able to find that sexual assault could vary in likelihood based on the rank of the individual within the military. Overall, when a person has a junior ranking, they are more likely to experience sexual assault than a person with a senior ranking. Women who are junior officers also experience sexual assault more than other women that are senior officers, while junior and senior men who are officers experience similar rates. Rates of sexual assault also vary between the 4 different branches of the military, which are the Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force. When looking at each of the 4 branches of the military, servicewomen in the Marines reported the highest amount of sexual assault at 8%. This is then followed by the Navy at 6.5%, the Army at 4.7%, and lastly the Air Force with 3%. Nearly 50% of these assaults were from a service member of a higher ranking, which is what we discussed on the previous slide. 1/3 of the offenders were reported to be someone in their chain of command, meaning their direct higher up, someone that they have to report to and someone who should respect them. Most of the incidents also occurred while on duty or during work hours. 2/3 of the assaults occurred on military installation. This includes ships. As stated previously, servicemen and servicewomen are held to a higher standard in civilian eyes. So when people began to see that sexual assault was becoming more common on college campuses, military academies were looked at more closely. Military academies train and prepare future servicemen and servicewomen for active duty. After their time at the academy, they will then become the United States protectors. The researchers Ruff and Armour looked a little more closely as to why military academies experience high rates of sexual assault, even higher than active duty military. As founded on the 2014 survey, women who were active duty with low rankings, who were younger than most other servicewomen, experienced sexual assault rates of 7.3%. 37% of active duty servicewomen were assaulted between the young ages of 18 to 24 years old. This is compared to rates of 20% for women that are older and 42% of girls younger than 18 years old. Age seems to be a large reason why sexual assault occurs at academies. Clearly, younger girls with smaller rankings are more likely than older women with larger rankings to experience assault. Another reason is college drinking culture that is present at academies. Author Robin Ryle discusses in our textbook, Questioning Gender, A Sociological Exploration, that the college party scene dominates campuses. It's often felt as the expectation of college students to underage drink and party. Partying on college campuses was found to be a common way for heterosexual women to meet men. Many women in these party scenes felt as though their self-esteem was boosted. The women would dance and kiss at parties, earning attention from the men. To earn the attention even more, the women required skillful deployment of physical and cultural assets. This meant that the women would look for outfits that were hot but not slutty. They would also present the image of white, even features, thin but busty, tan, long straight hair, skillfully made up, and well dressed up in the latest youth fashions. Now, while this talks about college students and not military academies, this is still associated with academies due to their very similar drinking culture. While women at academies likely work hard to feel and look equal to the male academy students, this nighttime drinking culture is still present, so this all may occur there as well. Women may feel masculine due to being in a male-dominated field and having to be at a physical level as a man, so they may want to feel more feminine at night while drinking. Many sexual assaults occur on college campuses when drugs or alcohol are present, so drinking is found to be another large reason why academies experience these large numbers of assaults. Looking at a little closer at men, gender identity often feels disrupted when a man experiences sexual assault. Researchers explain that masculine gender role ideals of strength and being in control clash with experiences of victimization, which by definition involves vulnerability and domination by another. Men often struggle after the assault, feeling as if they are less of a man because of what occurred. This is evident in civilian cases as well. However, the military has such a greater sense of expectation when it comes to masculinity. This may bring about feelings of self-blame, shame, and confusion for the serviceman or the veteran. And due to the unfortunate match between conception of femininity and victimization, gender identity may be less of an issue for women than it is for men. Due to the trauma of sexual assault, many men and women stop engaging in consensual sex entirely, or only engage when intoxicated. They may likely feel uncomfortable being intimate with a partner again, even if it's their husband or wife. For LGBT individuals, they may feel especially targeted because of their sexuality. This may bring up feelings of anger, sorrow, fear, and distress because the assault was potentially due to their sexual orientation. They may feel these emotions even if they're comfortable in their sexuality. Heterosexual men may also have confusion after the harassment or assault in regards to their own sexuality, thinking that it makes them gay because they did not enjoy the assault from a woman, or they are targeted because they are, quote, really are gay. After being sexually harassed or assaulted, both men and women may feel resentment toward their own bodies. For men, this could mean being angry or disgusted that they had an erection or ejaculated during the assault. While for women, this may mean that they believe their bodies were the reason why they were harassed or assaulted. So this can lead to extreme binge eating to gain weight, or eating very little, causing thinness. All this can lead to eating disorders, which can have many health risks. Women are overall more likely to develop eating disorders after experiencing sexual assault, but either way, being in active duty and not having a proper diet and exercise routine can have bad issues when it comes to the job. Educating servicemen and servicewomen about sexual assault is very important and can potentially lead to lower rates. Understanding what often brings about sexual assault and where the statistics are higher is very important. Young, low-ranking members of the military are most at risk for experiencing sexual assault. Having officers who do not respect sexual assault awareness programs, who do not respect the zero tolerance policy, and who do not take mental health seriously could put the servicemen or servicewomen under them at risk. Academy students looking to join the military are also at risk when alcohol is involved, especially because they are so young. Being aware of what puts those in the military at risk for assault is key to lowering the rates of sexual assault. This is all stuff to keep in mind if you plan to join the military or if you want to work with active duty members or veterans in the future. During World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam, homosexuality was not permitted within the United States military. Homosexuality was considered a mental defect which prevented LGBT individuals from serving. Not until the military was in need of more people due to combat did the military look the other way when it came to screenings. Many individuals served bravely in those wars but were later discharged. In 1982, there was a complete ban of homosexuals in the military. This caused roughly 17,000 men and women to be discharged. After people became advocates for lesbian and gay rights, Don't Ask, Don't Tell came about in the year 1993. Lesbian, gay, and bisexual individuals have experienced discrimination in the military for many years. Prior to the 1990s, LGBT individuals were prohibited from joining the military solely due to their sexuality. This then led to the way to Don't Ask, Don't Tell, known as DADT, a policy created as a sort of compromise. DADT allowed lesbian, gay, and bisexual individuals to join the military while keeping their sexuality private, by not outwardly stating statements such as, I am gay, lesbian, bisexual, or speaking about the same-sex partner. If an LGBT person remained closeted, then they were permitted to join the military. Indirectly, DADT said that being an LGBT person is wrong and not accepting the military, thus invoking discrimination. In 2010, President Obama repealed DADT. This came into effect in 2011, and LGBT individuals no longer had to feel a discharge from the military if they admitted to being homosexual. After the repeal of DADT, LGBT individuals felt liberated and proud of their acceptance in the military. No longer did these sexual minorities have to hide their sexuality from other military members out of fear of discharge. Even though many people found this to be a large success, there was still work to do. No policies came into place specific to the unique needs of LGBT individuals. This would be seen as special treatment. LGBT individuals in the military or veterans experience higher rates of post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and issues with alcohol, as well as higher suicide rates compared to their non-sexual minority counterparts. Having a place to go or people to talk to that understand their specific needs could really help in lowering these higher rates. Researchers Alford and Lee found that during the time of DADT, prior to the repeal, LGBT individuals experienced both an internal conflict in taking an oath of honesty and integrity, and subsequently being forced to conceal one's true sexuality identity. The external conflict of the feared negative reactions of heterosexual counterparts in military command that could result in retaliation up to and including discharge from service. These individuals wanted to be honest military members, but they could not tell the truth about such a large part of their life. They had to fear negative reactions to their sexuality and losing their spot in the military. Now that these individuals no longer had to hide their sexuality, they suddenly are faced with a choice of coming out about their sexuality publicly after however many years they spent being closeted while in the military. As we can all imagine, this would be very difficult. It can feel like they've been lying to their leaders and their friends for so long, and now suddenly they're expected to tell the truth. Don't Ask, Don't Tell has left out transgender persons from the policy. While LGBT people are now permitted in the military, transgender persons are still restricted due to psychological and medical restrictions. The term transgender itself is a very broad term, but under DADT, there is not a case-by-case leeway. This groups a large-scale group of people under one name, transgender, while there are many subcategories of this sexuality. People who do not seem to display gender stereotypes or appear as their gender risk being discharged from the military. Transgender people can get away with serving in the military if they have not had sex reassignment surgery, but they are still subjected to the appropriate bathrooms, uniforms, sleeping arrangements, and pronouns, which can be uncomfortable, unsafe, and is a form of discrimination. This all allows discrimination to occur between military leaders and their potentially transgender servicemen or servicewomen. In 2008, there was a study conducted reaching out to transgender veterans about their experiences in the United States military. There was no way to reach out to current transgender members of the military due to DADT. Those individuals obviously would not come out and talk about being transgender. So 827 transgender persons took the survey. 660 of those people identify as transsexual. 167 people fit under subcategories of transgenderism, like gender nonconformists or cross-dressers. 97% of those individuals could not transition until their service was over. 47% of those people did serve in combat zones, and 86% of those veterans were honorably discharged. This means they successfully served in the United States military despite the discrimination they are faced with. The discrimination of transgender persons in the military did not stop when their service ended. As veterans, many transgender persons seeking help with the Veterans Health Care System were met with unfair treatment. The VA has tried to create policies that include and accept transgender individuals, but many have not felt that when they're seeking help with them. The VA does not recognize the Harry Benjamin Standard of Care, which is the international standard of transgender care, and they also do not offer sex reassignment surgeries. When taking a survey based on their experiences with the care offered, many individuals were met with discrimination, even though the VA Boston healthcare system mandates that transgender individuals are met with fair treatment. Based on the survey responses, it was found that individuals experience actions such as refusal to address patients with appropriate gender pronouns after surgery or not making eye contact. In a specific case, a person was told that I should just go away because I was an insult to the brave, real men who were there for treatment. This is a very forward insult to the brave veteran. Throughout the past few years, the military has become much more accepting of women and LGBT individuals looking to serve, but there is still discrimination occurring. Not only do women and sexual minorities face physical challenges like training and combat, but they also face issues of discrimination, lack of support from their leaders, lack of acceptance, and high rates of sexual assault. The challenges these individuals face during their time in the military academies and during active duty follow them into issues they face as veterans. Servicemen and servicewomen who have experienced sexual assault during their time in the military face issues with gender identity, intimacy, and body resentment. LGBT individuals have experienced more acceptance in the military since the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. However, transgender persons were left out of this and still face possible unwanted discharge due to being transgender. Military veterans who face sexual harassment and/or assault, or those who were discriminated against, now have psychological issues as veterans. While the military is becoming more accepting, there's still so much to do to end discrimination and stigmas members continue to face. Being educated on challenges people face in the military is still a great way to start advocating for their rights. If any of you wish to be in the military, or if you plan to work with active duty or veterans, please consider looking at the references I used for my research and do some more research of your own.